Before I tell you this story, I want to ask you for something, and I promise it won't take long. If stories like this mean something to you, stories about family, about the quiet spaces between people, about the things we feel but don't always say, then take a second and subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button if you've ever had a moment in your life that didn't look big from the outside, but changed something inside you forever. And I want you to do one more thing. Go to the comments and tell me where you're watching from, your city, your country, anywhere in the world. I read them. And every time I see how far these stories travel, it reminds me that no matter where we live, we're all carrying something similar in our hearts. It might seem small, but small things have a way of reaching the right people at the right time. Now, take a breath. Let your shoulders drop. Let the noise around you fade for a minute, because what I'm about to tell you isn't loud. It's not dramatic. There's no shouting, no breaking glass, no big cinematic music. But it lasted. And sometimes the quietest moments are the ones that echo the longest. My dad made me happy today. And I don't mean the easy kind of happy. Not the kind that comes from a joke or good news or a text that says, "Guess what?" I mean the kind of happiness that sneaks up on you. The kind that tightens your chest before you understand why. The kind that makes you stare at the ceiling later that night replaying everything. The kind that shifts something inside you that you didn't even know was stuck. What he did wasn't dramatic. There was no announcement. No celebration. No grand speech. But somehow, without raising his voice, without changing his tone, without making a scene, he cracked open years of silence between us. Years of unsaid things. Years of misunderstandings we didn't even realize we were carrying. Years of loving each other quietly, but never fully knowing if the other person understood. And once that door opened, there was no closing it again. Stay with me, because what happened that day didn't just change how I see my father. It changed how I see myself. My name is Lisa. I'm 20 years old. And if you're around my age, you probably understand what I mean when I say I live in the in-between. Not a child anymore, but not fully confident as an adult either. It's that strange age where people expect you to know what you're doing, while you secretly hope someone older still does. You make decisions that feel permanent. You question your major. You question your friendships. Sometimes you even question who you are becoming. And all the while, you pretend you're more certain than you actually feel. Growing up, my dad and I were never emotional people. There were no screaming arguments. No dramatic reconciliations. No long, tear-filled conversations at the kitchen table. We weren't distant, but we weren't expressive either. My dad, Robert, isn't someone who uses many words. He shows love differently. He fixes things before they break. He replaces the milk before it's empty. He checks the oil in my car without telling me. He wakes up early and moves quietly, as if the world itself might crack if he steps too hard. If you wanted to understand my dad, you didn't listen to what he said. You watched what he did. That morning didn't feel important. There was no sign in the air. No sudden shift in the atmosphere. No voice whispering, "Pay attention. This matters." The sky outside my bedroom window was pale gray. Not stormy. Not bright. Just undecided. Like it hadn't chosen what kind of day it wanted to be yet. I stayed in bed longer than I should have. Staring at the ceiling. Listening. Old houses have their own language. The soft creak of settling wood. The distant clink of ceramic downstairs. The hum of electricity moving behind walls. I didn't need to check the time. I already knew who was awake. My dad. He's always been like that. Up before the sun fully rises. Making coffee before the world gets loud. Existing in that quiet hour most people sleep through. When I finally got out of bed, the smell hit me first. Coffee. Toast. Warm bread. There's something about that smell that bends time. It pulled me backward. Back to mornings when my feet didn't reach the floor as I sat at the kitchen table. Back to watching him read the newspaper like nothing else in the world mattered yet. Back to a time when I didn't question anything. When I walked into the kitchen, he was standing near the window. The morning light caught the gray in his hair. And for a brief moment, one I wasn't ready for, I noticed something I had been avoiding for a long time. He looked older. Not weak. Not fragile. just older. And something sharp pressed gently against my chest. Because aging isn't loud either. It happens quietly. Until one day you notice. "Morning, kiddo," he said, without turning around. His voice was steady, familiar. "Morning," I replied. When he handed me the coffee pot, our hands brushed for just a second. His skin was rough, warm, grounded. It was such a small detail, but it stayed with me. We sat at the table together. Not awkward, not uncomfortable, but heavy, like the air before a storm, when nothing looks different yet, but everything feels charged. I started talking about my classes, about how unsure I felt, about how everyone else seemed more confident, about how I wasn't sure if I was doing anything right with my life. And he listened. Not the distracted kind of listening. Not the nodding while thinking about something else kind. Real listening. He asked questions. Not to correct me. Not to lecture. Just to understand. And that felt new. Still something felt unfinished. Like words were waiting between us. Like a sentence neither of us knew how to start. After breakfast, he cleared his throat. "Lisa, do you have some time today?" That caught me off guard. My dad doesn't usually ask questions like that. He's a planner, a routine man, someone who always knows where he's going. I was thinking maybe we could go for a drive. A drive? That wasn't like him. I hesitated, then nodded. Okay. I had no idea. That drive would quietly change everything. We left town slowly, past streets I'd known my entire life, past the corner store where he used to buy me candy after dentist appointments, past the elementary school playground, past memories I hadn't visited in years. The houses thinned out. Trees replaced buildings. Open fields stretched wide. The radio played softly. An old song I recognized but couldn't name. I watched his hands on the steering wheel. Steady. Certain. And I wondered, where are we going? But I didn't ask. Some questions feel safer unspoken. Eventually, he turned into a small parking lot. Almost empty. And the moment I recognized it, my chest tightened. It was the park. The one where we used to feed ducks when I was little. Where he pretended to chase them. Where I laughed so hard my stomach hurt. It looked smaller now, but somehow heavier. Like it was holding years inside it. We got out of the car. The air was cool and clean. We walked along the narrow gravel path. Our footsteps crunching in rhythm. I wanted to ask why we were there. But something inside me said, wait. So I did. He stopped near a wooden bench by the pond. The water was still, reflecting the sky like glass. And that's when I noticed something I hadn't seen in a long time. He was nervous. My dad. Nervous. He took a slow breath, then turned toward me. And for the first time in years, I saw vulnerability in his eyes. I don't always say things right, he began. His voice was softer than usual. And I know I haven't said enough. My heart started beating harder. But I need you to know how proud I am of you. The words didn't explode. They didn't echo. They just landed. Heavy. Real. Not just for what you do, he continued, but for who you are. And something inside me broke open. If this story touched something in you, don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who might need it today. And remember, sometimes the quietest love is the deepest love of all.